Okay, in this video tutorial I'm going to talk about how to clean up and fix geometry in Maya. So I have this model right here, and so what I'm going to do to start off is I'm just going to do some things to kind of mess it up a little bit. So I'm going to use the multi-cut tool, and I'm going to create what's called an n-gon, or a side with more than four faces right there. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can see there's some other five-sided faces around it. So that's one common error I see. Let's create another one. So another common error I see is people will kind of what I call double extrude a face. So I'm just going to select a face and I'm going to extrude it, but then I'm going to forget to move it. And so let's talk about how we can kind of fix a model that has some of these geometry problems in it. And so one thing I like to do is when I've kind of worked on a model, and let's say that I think it's fine, but I just want to double check to see if there's anything wrong with it, I go up to Mesh at the top bar, and then go all the way down to where it says Clean Up, and then click on the Options box. So first, make sure you select your model in Object Mode, then go up to Mesh, Clean Up, and then this Options panel right here, and I'll click on that, and so you should get this Clean Up Options panel. And I believe that this is probably not the way it's going to look in terms of the settings on your computer by default. So let me just see if I can remember. I think it looks maybe something like that at first. So let's go ahead and change the settings to what we want this to be. So Maya Cleanup, it gives you two options right here. It says Clean Up Matching Polygons, and then it says Select Matching Polygons. And I want it to select matching polygons. And the reason is if I have this top one selected, Maya's going to attempt to fix my geometry for me, and I would really rather it didn't try, because it's in most cases not going to do what I want it to do, right? It's going to mess it up. So what this is going to do is it's going to show me which faces in the model are wrong, and then I can fix them myself. And so I highly prefer that option. So next up, four-sided faces are fine. Four-sided faces are quads, right? So those are good. What we want it to show us is which faces have more than four sides. So I have that one selected. And then finally I go down to something called non-manifold geometry. And so this is a term for if two faces are kind of sharing an edge in the wrong way, essentially. And that's a really common problem I see as well, right there. And so I get the panel looking like this, where I change that setting, and then that setting. And then I press apply, and then I'll close this down. And so you can see right back here, these are some of the faces that I had messed up right here. And I wanted to show this as well, is it highlights the faces that have more than four sides right here. And so it helped me catch some of the problems, but sometimes it might not catch everything, okay? And so we'll get to that in a minute, but we can see we have a five-sided face, five-sided face, five-sided face. So I now know where the problem lies. So that's just a great way to kind of, once you've finished a model, just try that option and hopefully no faces will get highlighted, which means your model's in great shape. And if the faces are highlighted and it's kind of causing problems, particularly in your mesh when you press 3, and you see like divots like this in your model, maybe there's a problem there. Okay, so let's talk about some ways that we can fix this. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that I can fix these faces right here between these. So the first thing I'm going to show is kind of what I call method 1 here, is first if I right click and go to edge mode, I can select that edge that's creating the try, and I can delete it. And one thing you'll notice here is if I hold in edges mode right there, the line doesn't go all the way through. So what I need to do is I need to go to vertex mode, and you can see whenever you delete an edge, you also need to go through and delete the vertices like that. So if I do that, then I'm in good shape. So that's one way that I could fix that issue. Another way, I'm just going to press edit undo to kind of bring us back. So another thing I can do is much simpler. I can just select that face, hold shift, select that face, delete them, and then I can use the target weld tool, or I could use the bridge tool to kind of bring these back together. So I'll use the bridge tool. I'll just right click, go to edge mode, and it looks like I didn't delete that vertice. So let me just try that again. There we go. So I'll select that edge, hold shift, select this edge, and then bridge it together. So that's a really easy way to kind of fix some geometry right there. So let me show you another way, because there's another problem up here that I believe that the mesh cleanup didn't show us. And so what I like to do too, so this is kind of another method that I use to discover problems in geometry, is I'll right click, go to vertex mode, and then I'll just select any old vertex, and I'll press 3. And do you see right here where I double extruded that face? So when I press 1, the model looks normal. But then when I press 3 and preview a smoothing operation, those extra faces are created. And when I click off of the model, you can see that there's like a little wrinkle in my geometry, a divot that doesn't look great. So I just like to, when I run into this problem, you know, I just select these faces, and maybe I just drag and select like that. I can press 4 to make sure I didn't select any faces by mistake in the back, and then press 5 again just to go back to normal. And I'll just press delete. And I could use that same bridging technique to bring those together, right? I can just, and right click, go to edge mode, select one edge, select another, and bridge it together. And I ran into an issue there. Let's see if I can try that again. Okay, let's see. And so that's given me a little bit of an added problem. Let me just right click, go to vertex mode. Yeah, there we go. You see, so I selected a vertex, and then I pressed 3. And so I got rid of one face, but I didn't get rid of all of them. And so what I can do is just stay in 3 mode, right click, go to face, select those faces, press delete. Now when I go back to 1, it looks normal. And I bet you, if I select this edge, select that edge, and then press bridge again, it'll bring them together. So remember, you have the bridge technique. You also have the target weld tool. And so I'll just use the target weld tool real quick. So I'm going to extrude this edge right here, and then I'm going to target weld the vertices onto this vertice and then that vertice right there using the target weld tool. So first I'm going to extrude, and I'm just going to pull out that extrusion to create the face that we're going to kind of merge back into our geometry right there. And I don't really need to even worry about getting it that close. It's just kind of get in the rough vicinity. Then I'll right click, go to vertex mode. And with target weld, what you do is you click on target weld, then you select the vertex you want to move, then you drag it to the vertex that you want to move it to. So click on target weld. I'm going to click on the vertex that I want to move, and then I'm just going to drag it, and an orange line will get created, and I just let it go, and it'll snap to the vertex that I want to move it to. And so I'll do it again. So I'll just click, drag like that. And so those are some helpful ways to kind of discover 5-sided faces, discover non-manifold geometry, and some easy techniques you can use to correct them. And remember, so mesh cleanup, and then this options box, and these are the options that I chose, and I press apply, and no faces got selected right there. And so if that happens, that's a good thing. That means your model's in good shape. And one last problem I want to show here is mesh display. So sometimes you can see right here, so these faces are appearing as black right there, and these are appearing gray. And so sometimes you'll kind of do some kind of extrusion, and it'll kind of come out looking a little bit wrong. So let me just kind of simulate this problem. So I'm going to take my whole model. Let's say that I want to take this and I want to make it 3-dimensional. So I'll select all the faces and extrude it, and I'll pull it in that way. And so you can see my entire model looks black right here. So if that happens, you can just select your model, or if it's just happening to certain faces, you can just select whichever faces that are appearing black where they shouldn't. So you just select the whole thing, and then you go up to mesh display, and then reverse right there. So if I just go select all the faces, mesh display and reverse, it'll flip them inside out, and so now they're front facing here. And up there as well, sometimes when you're modeling, even if you press smooth, it'll appear to have some weird hard faceted edges to it. And sometimes I'll run into that too. And if you click on a model and then under mesh display and you soften edge, you can see it kind of gets rid of some of those hard edges. So this is what it looked like before, and you can see those hard edges being created right there. And so I just select the model, mesh display, and then soften edges, and it just rounds them out a little bit right there and makes it a little less harsh.